After a grueling 16-hour hospital shift, I came home to find my 7-year-old daughter's room stripped bare. The glowing stars we painted, smothered in cold gray primer. Her toys, her clothes stuffed into black trash bags like garbage. Standing in the hallway, my mother crossed her arms and delivered the verdict. We held a family vote. You don't get a say. They stole my child's sanctuary to build my sister's studio. They thought my silence meant submission. They were wrong. I didn't scream. I called my lawyer. I need to take you back 3 years because an empty room does not just happen overnight. It is the result of 1,000 tiny concessions. I am a nurse. I work the night shifts, the double shifts, the shifts where you drink cold coffee at 3 in the morning just to keep your eyes open. I saved every extra dollar I made for 5 years. And 2 years ago, I bought a small brick house on Coldwater Lane. It was nothing grand. But it was mine. The first thing in my entire life that had my name and only my name on the bottom line. My daughter Lily and I painted the ceiling of her room deep blue. And we stuck glowing stars all over it. We made our own constellations. She named one after our cat. And one after me. But then my father had open heart surgery. The medical bills piled up, his recovery was slow, and my mother asked a simple question. Can we stay with you just until your dad is back on his feet? My younger sister Brooke came along too because Brooke always came along. Just until. Those are the 2 most dangerous words in the English language. Dad got back on his feet, but he also got comfortable in my living room recliner. Months turned into years and nobody ever packed a box. In our society, the word family is often glorified to the point where it becomes a free pass for ruthless behavior. Many people, like my mother, use the phrase for the family not to unite people, but as a tool to suffocate individual boundaries. They label you as selfish if you dare to resist. They use the sheer numbers of the group to strip away the assets of the individual. Psychology calls this group gaslighting. A toxic environment where the victim is convinced that protecting their own legal rights is somehow a crime. It started small. My mother rearranged my kitchen cabinets because she didn't like where I kept the mugs. Then my father claimed the best chair at the dinner table. And Brooke started talking about needing a real space for her wellness channel. A channel with 400 followers. She would look at my house the way a developer looks at an empty lot. I let it happen. I was too tired from working 13-hour shifts to fight over coffee mugs. But my silence was their green light. They mistook my exhaustion for weakness. The Tuesday before my double shift, we were eating spaghetti when Brooke casually mentioned she needed a studio. Good light. A door that closes. She looked right down the hall at Lily's room. I said no. I kept my voice flat, steady. I said it was my daughter's room. My mother just gave me this patient, patronizing smile. The smile that meant, leave it to me. I worked 16 hours the next day. A man nearly died in the trauma bay, and we brought him back. My hands were shaking with the good kind of adrenaline. When I finally pulled into my driveway at 10 at night, every light in the house was blazing. I walked in smelling fresh paint. I stood in the doorway of Lily's room. The bed was gone. The dresser was gone. Brooke was taping a box shut. A ring light was set up in the corner. Where is my daughter? I asked. My voice was very quiet. People who know me know that the quiet voice is the dangerous one. My mother stepped into the hall. She is with her father for a few days, she said. We talked it over. All of us. We voted. You don't get a say. Do you know what drains you more than the betrayal itself? It is not the anger. It is the agonizing effort of swallowing that anger down into your stomach, locking it away, and forcing yourself not to shatter every window in the house. I found out they had lied to my ex-husband, Travis. They told him I was having a mental breakdown and needed him to take Lily. I drove 45 minutes in the dead of night to pick up my crying 7-year-old. When I brought her back to my house, I had to lay her down on an air mattress in my own room. A half of my soul wanted to scream, to flip the kitchen table and throw their belongings into the street right then and there. But in the hospital, I learned a vital rule of survival. The person who screams in an emergency room never saves the patient. The one who controls their breathing is the one who holds the scalpel. So I took a deep breath. My calmness in those days was not peace. It was the silence of a sniper taking aim. The next morning, the house put on a sickening performance of normalcy. My mother made pancakes. As if syrup could apologize for stealing a child's bedroom. She even slid a bank brochure across the counter, casually suggesting we refinance the house so everyone could be on equal footing. Brooke chattered endlessly about her studio launch party scheduled for Saturday. She had invited guests, a photographer, the neighbors. I just nodded. I poured my coffee and let them talk. But the absolute breaking point came that afternoon. Brooke left her tablet charging on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a notification. I am not a person who snoops, but the name of the group chat caught my eye. Atwood House. I leaned in. My mother was in it. My father. Brooke. Even my aunt from 2 states away. Every Atwood was in this chat. Except the Atwood whose name was on the deed to the house. I scrolled up. 6 weeks. For 6 entire weeks, they had been planning this room takeover. They had coordinated their stories. My mother had typed word for word. We will just present it as a family vote. She won't fight the whole family. She never does. She never does. My own mother had weaponized my peaceful nature against me. But that wasn't the worst of it. A few messages down there was a photograph. It was a quitclaim deed form, half filled out in my mother's handwriting. Pinned to the top of it was a yellow sticky note. Get Dee to sign. Tell her it's for the fire insurance. When you look at the people who raised you and realize they are actively plotting to strip you of your financial security, the world stops spinning for a second. The betrayal is absolute. They were not my family anymore. They were squatters with a strategic plan. I did not cry. I pulled out my phone and took photographs of every single message. Every timestamp. The quitclaim deed. I documented the entire crime scene. Many people ask how I could possibly gather enough legal leverage without my family noticing. The truth is, when you are the only person paying the bills in the house, you hold the keys to all the information. The address for my ex-husband wasn't hard to find. It was on the rare child support checks in my mailbox. And the quitclaim deed. I didn't just photograph the tablet. I logged into the shared desktop computer and pulled the browser history. In a family war, tears are not evidence. But search histories, IP addresses, and digital timestamps are bulletproof. Why do people fear loud, explosive rage? The truth is, shouting is just a manifestation of helpless loss of control. In behavioral psychology, absolute stillness is the most terrifying state a human can enter when facing a severe threat. When a person is backed into a corner and they do not cry, do not shout, but simply observe and calculate, they have abandoned emotion for pure predatory logic. My family mistook my silence for weakness. They didn't know it was the quiet before the blade falls. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot and called Patricia Vance. She is a property and family lawyer known as a pitbull in pearls. I gave her the facts, cold and clinical. I own the house. They pay no rent. They shipped my child off on a lie. They are planning real estate fraud. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, a family vote has no legal weight. You could vote on who owns the moon and it would mean exactly as much. In the eyes of the law, they are guests. And you can ask them to leave. Do you want to do this loud or do you want to do this right? She asked. Right, I said. Always right. Within 24 hours, Patricia drafted 3 formal notices to vacate. 30 days. By the letter of the law. A process server delivered them by certified mail on Thursday. I watched from the kitchen window as my mother picked up the mail, glanced at the certified envelopes, and tossed them into the junk basket by the door without even opening them. She was so convinced of her own absolute power in my house that she filed her own eviction notice under junk mail. I had built a fortress of valid paperwork, so tight and flawless that they would not find a single crack to slip through. Saturday arrived. The morning of Brooke's grand studio launch. I woke up early, drank my coffee, and walked to my bottom dresser drawer. I pulled out a plain manila folder. Inside was the deed to the house, the mortgage papers, copies of the eviction notices, and the glossy printed photos of their group chat and the fraudulent quitclaim deed. I squared the papers perfectly. I clipped my hospital badge to my collar, even though it was my day off. I wanted to step into that room exactly as who I am. Donna Atwood, registered nurse, the calm in the chaos. By 10 in the morning, my small house was full of strangers. Brooke had invited 2 brand collaborators, women with perfect hair and fake smiles. She hired a photographer named Devin. Even Mrs. Okafor from next door was there, holding a foil-covered dish, sensing that the energy in the room was entirely wrong. My mother was radiant. She floated through the crowd like a queen holding court, resting her hand on Brooke's shoulder, telling everyone about the family's wonderful new creative space. My father sat quietly in his chair, wearing a clean shirt, staring at the floor. Lily stayed glued to my leg, clutching her stuffed rabbit, watching these strangers invade her home. My mother spotted me holding the folder. "There she is," she announced, her smile sharp and tight. "Donna has been so supportive of the family. Wouldn't miss it," I said. Mrs. Okafor stood by the wall, her eyes darting between me and my mother. The photographer adjusted his camera. My mother raised a glass of sparkling cider. "To Brooke. And to family doing big things together." I did not raise a glass. I stepped right into the center of the room. I kept my voice at that perfect indoor trauma ward volume. Before the toast, I said, "Can I ask Mom to explain one thing for our guests?" The room went dead silent. The photographer lowered his lens. My mother's smile froze, but her eyes turned venomous. "Of course, honey," she said, playing to the crowd. "What is it?" "Earlier this week," I said, looking directly at her, "you explained how the family made a decision about this room. My daughter's bedroom. I want to make sure I understood it correctly in front of everyone." My mother hesitated. I watched her calculate. She decided that backing down in front of an audience would ruin her matriarch persona. She lifted her chin, deeply arrogant. "We did take a vote," she declared to the room. "We make decisions together. And yes, we decided this room would serve the family better as Brooke's studio. Donna was outvoted 4-1. She doesn't get a say just because she's the oldest." There it was, witnessed by the photographer, the brand partners, and the neighbor. "Thank you," I said softly. "I just wanted to be sure that is the version we are going with." I walked over to the dining table. I opened the manila folder and pulled out the first document. I held it up so the entire room could see the embossed county seal. "This is the deed to this house," I said. "There is exactly one name on it. Mine. Donna Atwood. Not my mother. Not my father. Not my sister." My mother let out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. "Well, of course it is in your name, you handled the paperwork. But it is the family's home." "It isn't though," I replied. "A home is not a feeling. Legally, it is a deed. And you cannot vote on a house with only one name on it." "Donna, stop this right now." My mother snapped, dropping the sweet act. "I am your mother." "You are," I agreed. "And I am Lily's mother." I laid down the next 3 documents. 3 crisp, white envelopes. I fanned them out on the table like a winning hand of cards. "Notice to vacate. Legally served on Thursday. 1 for you, Mom. 1 for Dad. 1 for Brooke. 30 days. You are non-paying guests and your time is up." The color drained from my mother's face. It was like watching a heart monitor flatline. "You can't evict family." She gasped. "My lawyer says I can," I whispered. Brooke started to cry. "My launch," she whimpered. "My collaborators are right here." "They are," I said. "And since we are being totally transparent in front of our guests, there is one last thing Mrs. Okafor should see." I pulled out the photograph of the quitclaim deed. "This is a form to transfer property. My mother started filling it out 2 weeks ago. In her group chat, she wrote a note to herself. Get Donna to sign. Tell her it is for the fire insurance." The room collectively gasped. The brand collaborators grabbed their purses. The photographer quietly packed his equipment and slipped out the front door without a single word. In less than 2 minutes, the launch party was completely empty, except for Mrs. Okafor. She walked past me, looked at the papers and gently squeezed my arm. "You did right," she whispered before leaving. My mother finally detonated. She screamed, she cried, she cursed my name. She called me an ungrateful, wicked daughter. I did not raise my voice. I did not flinch. I just let her scream until she ran out of breath. When she was done, I looked at her and said, "You got so scared of having nothing, that you tried to make yourself the center of a house that isn't yours. Being afraid does not give you a vote on my child's bedroom. And it never gave you permission to commit real estate fraud." My father finally spoke. "Sit down, Maureen," he said quietly. "It's over." The 30 days went by faster than you would think. Brooke left within the week. Her wellness brand collapsed before it even started. Because you cannot preach harmony when you are caught trying to steal your sister's house. My parents took the full 30 days. On the final afternoon, a cousin arrived with a pickup truck to take their boxes. My mother refused to look at me. She refused to speak to me. As my father carried out the last box, he stopped on the porch. He looked tired, older than his 64 years. He didn't apologize, but he gave me a slow nod. "You did right, Donna," he muttered. Then he got in the truck and they drove away. The house was finally quiet. Not empty quiet. There is a profound difference. I changed the locks that very afternoon. It wasn't an act of spite, it was simple arithmetic. The old keys belonged to a reality that no longer existed. The legal custody paperwork went through flawlessly. No one will ever be able to put my daughter in a car and send her away without my permission ever again. That weekend, Lily and I went to the hardware store. We bought a fresh bucket of dark blue paint and a brand new bag of glowing stars. We rolled the beautiful blue over the suffocating gray primer. We spent the entire Sunday afternoon on a stepladder, placing every single star exactly where it belonged. She named one after the cat. She named one after me. And we put a special, bright one right above her pillow. A boundary is not an act of cruelty. Setting limits with toxic people is not a betrayal of love. Silence in the face of chaos is not a white flag of surrender. Sometimes it is the most powerful weapon you have. The people who mistake your kindness for a doormat are simply the ones who never realized what your kindness was protecting. My house has one name on the deed, and so does a mother's love. Disclaimer: this video is created for the sole purpose of entertainment. All situations, characters, and stories in this video are fictional and are built entirely using artificial intelligence technology. We hope you have a relaxing time.